Hi, I'm Jeremy Stafford with Mossberg. Today I'm coming to you from my home range, the compound in beautiful Moore Park, California, and we're going to be talking to you about an exciting new product, the Mossberg 590M, the magazine-fed shotgun perfected. Because sometimes 20 rounds of buckshot goodness is exactly what the situation calls for. I have my friend Rob, who's the Chief Operating Officer of the compound out here. And I promised him he'd have a little fun, but the nice thing about it is, with him shooting, I'll be able to tell you what I think is important and advantageous to the way the magazines are set up here. So go ahead and load it up, Rob. Go ahead and chamber around. All right, so Rob's never touched this shotgun before. This is the first time. You can see that it was still pretty easy for him to load the shotgun. The magazine's not tricky. You place it in, you rock it in, it locks into place tightly. All right, Rob, what I'm going to have you do, come up onto target. Don't shoot until I tell you to. Remember, the safety on the Mossberg's on the tang, so when you're ready to go, you'll just push that forward, and then you go ahead and bring your finger to the trigger. All right, so what I'm going to have Rob do is dump this mag. It's 20 rounds. I want you to see that it's not as unwieldy as you think. The balance of the weapon is still pretty decent, even though we have a lot of added weight. All right, so Rob, when you're ready, bring it on. Give me 20 on the steel, buddy. Nice, open the action, safety on, good man. Rock that magazine out, nice and easy. It is the best magazine-fed shotgun system that I've used, period. About the magazines, you can see that they're double stack magazines, and this is important because these are not small projectiles. So in order to make it more efficient and keep it closer to the gun so that you get a little bit better balance, they went with a double stack. Now it looks really wide, but these will fit in most 308 double pouches. I've tried it on a couple of mine and it works. So you'll see that the magazines load easily, they're held securely. You don't have to fight to get them in there. The last couple, you can feel the increased tension, but it's nothing that's gonna require you to have anything but just a baseline of physical fitness. If the magazine's heavy to you or inserting these shells is difficult for you, you should spend less time in front of the internet and more time in the gym. So here we go. This is the 10-round magazine, and you can see that the Mossberg magazines are labeled so that you know what you got. If you use it often enough, you can tell by sight, but as you're learning that, it's nice to be able to just look at that and be able to tell what you got. So I will finish loading it up now. And here we go. Oh, one more. And there we are. 10 rounds in a nice compact package that will fit easily into a double 308 magazine pouch. Let's go shoot. Let's take a look at that target. So you can see we have measured off 10 yards here, just a bead sight. I wasn't taking any particular time. I was just putting that bead where it needed to be and pressing the trigger. The Mossberg still got the job done. You can see they're all in the 10 ring. They're all nice and tight. It's good ammo. It's a good shotgun. It'll do what you need it to do. That's the beautiful thing about the 590. No matter what the weather, no matter what the mission, it's going to get it done. And now, is going to get it done with a detachable magazine. Some people have asked, why a detachable magazine? Well, it actually makes quite a bit of sense with the shotgun because the shotgun is a very modular weapon, meaning that it's used for multiple tasks and it's adaptable for a wide variety of missions across the board. For a law enforcement mission, we might use buckshot, we might use slug, or we might even need breaching rounds. So the ability to switch quickly comes into play quite often in the law enforcement world. In the military world, when I carried a shotgun in combat, reloading the shotgun was very difficult under fire. I'm sure I was moving very fast, but it felt like I was moving very slow. So the ability to switch out magazines quickly to stay in the fight becomes a big deal when you're receiving fire and not just shooting on a square range. For the civilian homeowner, likewise, you can switch between birdshot, buckshot, and slugs quickly. You can mark your magazines, you know exactly what you have to do, and it makes those transitions very easy. So now is the time that detachable magazines have really started to shine in the world of shotgunning. And Mossberg's latest entry, the 590M, really is the cream of the crop, and I'm going to tell you why. You'll notice that the magazine release sits right in front of the trigger guard, and this is great because it doesn't interfere with the world-class Mossberg controls. The ambidextrous thumb safety, which allows you to push it on, put it back, push it on and off easily with your thumb, either thumb, and the magazine or the slide handle release lever, which is fantastic because it allows you to operate it utilizing your primary hand without having to switch hands back and forth, and it allows you to keep your finger straight off of the trigger. So with this magazine release, you'll notice that it's helical, meaning that as I press it, it rotates. This is fantastic because it allows the paddle or AK style magazine to lock in very tightly and come out very easily. Sometimes with the paddle style release on an AK magazine, it can be a little bit complicated, but in this case, my hand can access all of the controls without moving all over the shotgun, which is a tremendous advantage. You'll also notice that we have these lugs that have been milled into, or these receiving areas that have been milled into the shotgun frame, which allows the corresponding lugs on the magazine to lock in tightly. This also allows the magazine to be moved up, which is important, and I'll show you why in just a bit. But you'll notice that when I press the magazine release button, the magazine comes out easily. There's no well to deal with or anything like that, and we'll talk about these magazines in just a bit. So anytime we're talking about a shotgun and feeding a shotgun, we have to deal with the fact that we have this broad, flat front end. Unlike a traditional bullet that kind of lends itself to chambering easily, we have this broad, flat end. So anytime engineers make changes, they have to make sure that it's not going to affect the reliability of the system. One of the ways that the Mossberg engineers worked this is they milled these little receiver lugs into the receiver of the shotgun so that the magazine itself interfaces very easily, locks up tightly, and it brings the shell up really close so that we don't have a long area or a lot of empty space in order for this round to chamber. So I'm going to move it forward slowly, and you can see that right there, it locks in, it moves nice and tight, and it starts to lock in to those legendary Mossberg dual extractors, which is fantastic because those things got me out of a lot of trouble with dirty shotguns in Iraq. The magazine release button itself is also very robust, and unlike the AK paddle release on some of the competitors' guns, this is very familiar to American shooters, which means that, look, I don't have to move my hand all over the place. I can access that magazine release button anytime I want to. Because we have the American style, or AR style rather, magazine release on this, the American shooters are going to be a little bit more familiar with it, not going to have to fight with it like you would with an AK paddle if you're not familiar with it. When you press it, the magazine falls out easily, which is important because you don't want to struggle, especially when the magazine is this large. Now, we have these larger magazines, but we also have smaller ones. In fact, Mossberg has made magazines from 5, 10, 15, and 20 round capacity. You might ask yourself, well, gosh, why didn't we need 20 round capacity? Well, it might not be for you, but I'll tell you what, when I was overseas, getting shot at all the time, I really wish I had a couple of 20 round magazines. Even though they tend to be a little bit bulky and they're a little bit heavy, it doesn't really affect the balance of the shotgun negatively because it's right there in the middle. For most uses, I would probably use the 10 round magazine, and it also fits in nicely if you happen to live in a state where they're infringing your rights. The 10 round magazine is going to be legal, and it's going to allow you to, again, switch out ammo between different magazines so that you can switch easily from buck to slug to birdshot, depending on what you're doing that day. If you're competing with the shotgun, it's going to make it a little bit easier because if you have something far away, you can go to a little bit different load. If it's a little bit closer, you can stick with that birdshot. So it just gives you options. If you don't want to run the 10 round or the 15 round magazines, you don't have to. We have the 5 round magazines. If you want to be out there running the 20 round magazine, you can do that too. It's really about options and about making the optimal decision for you.